Hello, I'm the manga novelist. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first video. Let's talk about this channel, then move on to the subject matter. What I hope to do with this channel is create motivational content and give you advice on writing based on my learned experiences and promote my soon-to-be released manga. I will also be making videos on anything I feel like. Here's a disclaimer. I am not an expert on any given topic, and my advice should not be taken as a word of law, but a tool for you to create your own opinions. Well, let's get to the first video. If for some reason you didn't read the title card, we're going to be talking about goals and conflict. Conflict can only arise if a protagonist has a goal. Now, we need some kind of force to be an antagonist in order for a protagonist to overcome so that we can tell a compelling story. In my mind, an antagonist can be broken up into two separate groups: the hurdle for the protagonist, or a secondary character with a opposing ideology. A good story has one of these, a great story has both. An example of a hurdle would be a character that plans on climbing a mountain. The immense size, large slick walls, and falling rocks become intrigue that make us ask why would someone do this, and can they? If the hero reaches the top, this type of story is normally very uplifting because it can present to us a character that is completely self-reliant and independent. This resonates with audiences because the most important thing of any story is being able to empathize negatively or positively with the characters. Writing characters that are self-motivated create conditions that make writing easier because the characters push the story forward. Within this type of format, I find a lifeless antagonist far more compelling because the story is fully focused on the character and the obstacle, which normally leads to better characterization for our leads. Allow me to repeat something. Story is about empathizing with characters. The reason I find the average villain less appealing to write is because the market is oversaturated with one-dimensional antagonists. Particularly in fantasy, the hero's goal is to defeat the villain, and the villain's goal is normally to take over the world or continent. With correct characterization and focus, this can be interesting, but with poor execution, it's generic. One thing I would suggest is, if you decide to go this route, reduce the size of your conflict, make it personal. Having a smaller cast of characters will allow you to flesh out the characters and create a deeper drama. A serial killer is far more interesting in most cases than a warlord. With a serial killer, we begin to wonder what the background of the character is, what exactly forced this person out of normal society, and how has he evaded capture to this point? How is someone so normal so evil? The best stories, in my opinion, are a mix of both conflicts. The main character's goal, which they must reach or overcome, and the villain that gets in his way. Examples of this would be Breaking Bad, Death Note, The Game, and Naruto. In Breaking Bad, the protagonist must overcome his lack of money and inevitable death. This leads him to a life of crime and naturally picking up enemies along the way. In every case given, a challenge is presented to our protagonist, and by choosing to accept that challenge, the protagonists are met with an opposing force outside of their goal. You should also trust in the goals that you present initially in your story, unless you're changing the story's theme. One of the series I've named above made the fatal mistake of not trusting in the goals held by the antagonist. In Naruto, the group known as the Akatsuki is presented initially to us as a group trying to collect and control 10 monsters. If they were able to control these monsters, it would be the equivalent of controlling a nuclear bomb. They intend to use this power to threaten the rest of the world into peace, which sounds like an interesting proposition. However, the creator later discarded this idea and replaced it with the idea of hypnotizing the world into peace. Thematically, nothing changed. However, the initial proposal of threatening peace created more tension, and is honestly more believable. The worst part about this, again, is the goal didn't change. I feel the story would have been far more compelling if it would have stayed consistent instead of going out of its way to be convoluted. It's easy to lose your way while writing, though, but it's important to stay focused. In fact, it's something that Death Note does extremely well. Death Note is arguably a case study of staying on point. As long as the main character's goal of getting rid of what he considers human filth and becoming God stays relevant, we can't look away because it's just like someone climbing a mountain. Once your character has a laser-focused goal, like Light Yagami's character, it's easy to present walls for that character to climb. Which brings me to The Game with Michael Douglas, which asks the question, how much will your character take before they snap? The Game is like a stress test for this formula, and I love it because of that. considering it's not as well known as it should be, rather than going into much detail about it. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it, and would even consider it mandatory watching for any aspiring novelist or comic creators. I've said what I've needed for today. I could talk a lot more about the subject, so if you would like me to create another video on the topic, let me know. One of my favorite references for conflict is surprisingly the Rugrats, which in my opinion shows the bare bones of conflict. So, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe and keep up with me on Discord. Link in the description. Goodbye now.